Vince. Like
I think a little bit of white guilt is okay, even healthy. But like, if you live in white guilt, I'm not. Here's the thing, though. Like, I'm honest with myself. Like, I'm not saying that you guys aren't, and you guys know your truths and everything like that. But like, yeah, there's some guilt there, and that doesn't make me a beta or a cuck to acknowledge my predecessor. Like, my ancestors owned slaves, and when I think about that, I'm like,
do you think?
Mine didn't.
Oh, I know they did. Like, we did a family tree, and we figured it out.
You figured it out? You did. Checked the books. Yeah.
Oh, actually, and it's like something. Anyways, that's a whole different topic. But like,
no, that was interesting. So it was something like.
No, I don't know. That the only thing I know is that they were the slave owners. They I don't know if they owned a plantation or something like that. I figured my family would have been much more wealthy if that was the case. But yeah, maybe something like that. I'm not sure. But they had something like that.
A sale barn. The Hutchinsons were probably like principal offenders. They were the ones bringing the Africans in and like literally putting the chains on them and like dragging them out and like bidding, auctioning them off, hey, those are the Hutchinsons, I bet.
No.
I've never looked back. I want to do that. I want to do that. Not just to know. I would acknowledge.
You really
it's
want
not
to
me.
I think it's okay. I think it's okay to acknowledge that you have it a little bit easier than some groups. There's nothing wrong with that.
I don't agree. Like, here's my thing, right? For starters, on the has my family ever owned slaves? On my father's side, it's really clear because both of his parents were immigrants, and he was a first-generation American, so innocent. On my mother's side, we don't really know the history there. I'm not. Maybe not. Probably not, because I heard like 1% of people own slaves, but I've never owned a slave, and you've never picked any cotton. So let's move on. Like that's my thought process on this thing. And
it's a weird false equivalency of, like if your ancestors owned slaves, I still don't think that the sins of the father should somehow, indict the son. That seems as inherently unfair. But like, how would you say to like my family? I know we came here after that. Like they were in, and Sicilians, people from Italy, they were treated fine, I guess. Not great right away. Not but like.
We know the truth about you people, just so you know. Like me and Woody, like we don't talk about it much, but we know what you Sicilians really are. Just we're keeping an eye on you.
Do you trust other groups of people when they come forward and say, "Hey, listen, we're having a hard time in this society around this one thing, and we think you guys are getting maybe preferential treatment. Can you take a look at that? Like, would you trust a group of people and not?" Like and honor and respect their point of view, or do you immediately dismiss it and say you're fine? There's no glass ceiling.
Oh, I'd love to see evidence. That's my thing.
Yeah,
what I don't want to hear is a lot of broad generalizations. Like, it's so hard for me. I have to wake up in the morning and like go work hard, and then sometimes things don't go my way, and people treat me. It seems that people are treating me unfairly, and I'm like, yeah, that happens to me every fucking day. Yeah, that's life. But if they're like, look at these statistics. Look how this guy was treated versus how that guy was treated. I'm like, oh, you got to fucking. That's right. Yeah, let's get to the bottom of this. Like I'm not blind to that there are differences in society, but I don't want to take any of the blame for it.
No, I'm not saying that you yourself should necessarily feel guilty. Like when I talked about white guilt, like when I think about white guilt, it's more of an acknowledgement that other people have a hard time because they're not white, and I think it's okay to acknowledge that. I also think that. You're right too, Kyle.
I mean, like in hockey?
You need to sure, yeah, hockey, whatever. You need to back, like you should. Ideally, there would be some facts or statistics or some like body of evidence or data to help support your claim and to help other people understand why maybe you're a little bit, I don't want to say disadvantaged, but you have a little bit harder of a time in this country than other people. And of course, there's also the argument where it's like, well, now compare the United States to Saudi Arabia, and then try and complain about this other stuff here, but that argument doesn't really like hold a lot of water. That's the same thing.
Well, the best way to go forward with it is like what you're saying. Like I don't immediately give respect and credence to an argument that I hear. Like I'd like to know more about it. But if they feel like a perfect example, like institutionalized racism is a ridiculous buzzword. Like unless you're a real racist, then you really would like to get rid of racism. So like show me what institution is racist. Like, let's say there's a racist university that only lets white people in. You know, that's a racist institution. That shouldn't be allowed. Show me a golf course. That's an institution that isn't allowing Jewish people and black people. We need to fix that or do whatever needs to be done. But then that brings the whole argument of should you be able to tell a private business
in a free market, what happens is no sponsors want their balls to be used at that racist golf club. Nobody wants to put their tournament at that golf club. The white guys are like, I can't be seen at Three Rivers anymore, or White Rivers anymore, because like my boss is Puerto Rican. Like how would it look if I were up there golfing with all those whiteys and he has to go to the public club? That's bullshit.
The thing for me is like I feel like I've been around, right? I've worked in Fortune 500 companies, mid-sized companies with 1,000 employees, and tiny companies, and I've never seen the racism. I've been in hiring positions, and I haven't seen the racism.
Hang on, you have.
I have, and that only
white guys got hired.
Dude, they would only by the time I was hiring, only Indian resumes got to me. Well,
okay. But can I interject and say how would you know that I want to be careful because I don't want to say that I think that white or black people can't be racist, or Mexicans only. I'm not saying that only white people can be racist, but how do you know what you're looking for if you've never even had that experience in the first place? So like you might not even know what to look for when people describe their experiences with racism, and your mind might not be able to connect with that. And so your first instinct might be to say, well, that's obviously not racism because I don't understand it. But unless you've lived your whole life in the shoes of people from all over these places that come into the country, it's
even then really though.
Us to say. It's not to say that white people are incapable of observation. We're not dumb. We can see what's in front of us just like everybody else. But it's just a really awkward time in our country's history, man. I think this facade of unity is really kind of wearing off. And like this story that we all told each other about how, all this stuff had been eradicated and there was just so much unity.
Do you remember after 9/11 how patriotic everyone was and how everybody was red, white, and blue?
Yeah, that's understandable.
As horrible as that was, don't you? I mean, we're all the perfect age to remember that and to remember it well. All of us remember that well. It just seemed like everybody really came together, and it was a really cohesive time. And what we did with that cohesiveness was terrible in a lot of regards in regards to Iraq. Imagine if we'd taken that cohesiveness and been and upped our infrastructure, or took that $1 trillion and pumped it in hey, free college for 3 generations. Let's just do that.
Energy
America's going to be
independence.
any of those things.
The thing I have, we've talked about whether or not I see racism. What I see and that I really dislike is this, what we've been calling the victim Olympics, right? I worked in a place and I see, black guys get ahead, not get ahead, etc. And it all seemed like, that kind of matches their performance, I would say that this is a colorblind promotion process. And on the other hand, I see a lot of people saying, I'm not getting ahead, therefore I'm a victim. And that I hate. I would much rather have an attitude of, how can I smash this down? How can I improve this? How can I succeed? And that's not what I get much.
You do just as much damage to someone's psyche convincing them that someone else is oppressing them as you do by actually oppressing, when they're actually not, as you would by actually oppressing them, I think in some regards. Because
when
you get used to this idea of some outside influencing
the soft racism of low expectations, right? That's what we're talking about, the soft racism of low expectations. When you say, hey, it's not your fault, man. Dude, of course you're doing poorly in school. You're black. C's are good for you. That is racist.
Antonin Scalia, what was his first name? Antonin Scalia, right?
I believe that's correct. Yeah,
Antonin Scalia. Shortly before he died, he came out actually and you remember that horribly racist shit? He's like, this is what
I don't remember.
This is what, when you said a moment ago, Taylor, you said that you don't believe in institutional racism. It's become like a bite word or something that the pundits...
Yeah, you have to state the institution in order to be helpful. Otherwise, it's just nebulous and you can't nail anything down.
Sure, but then... Okay, all right, never mind. I misunderstood what you said. But you had Antonin Scalia saying that of course black people are doing poor in these nice schools. We shouldn't be contributing to them raising their expectations for themselves. Let's just recognize where black people are at academically and put them in their proper universities. We shouldn't be focusing on diversifying these prestigious institutions. And of course, people came out and they were just like, dude, what? What are you talking about? There's no evidence to suggest that black people are less capable than white people.
Yeah, of
but
course.
When you look at a Supreme Court justice saying something like that, it's really hard.
It's
for me to
frightening.
say there's no such thing as institutional racism.
On the
when you have
upside,
highest
he's
level
dead.
of power. He's dead. Yes, it's
yeah.
true.
Yeah, so that guy,
dead.
he was not my favorite justice.
Not a very progressive guy. No.
Hey, are you pro Hillary?